So I could not believe, actually, I could believe, hello, how are you? So I couldn't believe, but I kind of knew it that this result will happen because I don't know if you were following, but I was following the Raul Valle trial, and I just was really running into it later, and I first saw bits and pieces of it, and in fact I really saw the actual what matters. And what matters was that if you don't know the story, and unfortunately it wasn't really mentioned in the variety in the large media, unlike Karen Reed trial or the other trials, but this was such an important trial, and this shows exactly what I'm teaching on my channel, right? And we are going to analyze this, and also will share with you the results and why it came to that results, because I knew it exactly. And literally today I was like hoping and praying and literally using my 3-step method on him, and it worked. And I will tell you all about it. So if you don't know this background about that story, why also I will share with you why this is so important and so critical. And before we get started, obviously, when you are here, hi, thank you so much. My name is Dr. Shahin, and I am analyzing everything that goes around the world on critical way of thinking and critical analysis based on sociology, psychology, and actually, in fact, as a human being, how we can actually analyze this in an accurate way so that it's not being manipulated from left and right based on facts, based on logic and truth, to be honest. And that's why my goal is to, for each and one of us, to run through life, go through life with honesty, dignity, integrity, and also to spread that around in our society, in our community, so that we have a broader, better humanity in this world. So if you support my channel and if you're here watching, please like it and share it and subscribe if you haven't already. We will do a lot more, and tell me in the comments what you like me to cover based on analysis, body language, psychology, critical analysis, etc., and based on science and facts. Okay, so you are here, thank you so much. So give a like and subscribe. Okay, so if you don't know the background, these are 16 years old high school students in Connecticut, and seems like they are this high society boys, and a lot of them play football in the schools, and their girlfriends are cheerleaders, what have you. Okay, and so thank you, I really appreciate that. Thank you, thank you, thank you for your support, Vami. I really appreciate that. So what's happening is that these are, that Raul Valley have best friends, and these kids know each other from childhood, right? And so he hangs out with his girlfriend, and his girlfriend is a really good looking cheerleader, and he's a really like very handsome, normal guy. And I will tell you exactly, because he also did testify. So they are hanging out at home, and they don't want to go out at all. And then they get a message or a phone call and say, here, there's a party, come in. And they are like, yeah, okay, let's go. And they go in a group of, 3 boys and his girlfriend. They're in a car and driving to a party. And there's lots of boys and girls in this party, and there's lots of drinking. You tell me, 16 years old, our house party, drinking. Where are the parents? And nowhere in the trial, parents never show up, never mentioned. And these things are based on the murder of a young man, in a teenager at that time, is also based on severe alcohol. Where the heck are the families? So sociology number 1. The parents, it doesn't even exist. It wasn't even mentioned anywhere in the trial, right? Okay, that's number one. Then they go out, and after they go out, they see like a gigantic group of boys. They don't know each other. Most of them don't know each other from Chilton, and they are pretty much the bad boys. Also, alcohol is involved. They start a fight. And in the car, the driver and Raul, the defendant, now acquitted of murder, and I will get to that, sits in the back seat behind the driver. That driver, and there is next to him another boy. They're friends. And in the back seat behind the driver, Raul is riding, and on his lap is his girlfriend. So the driver, once they see these boys are fighting, whatever, gets a knife, a 3-inch knife, pocket knife, and throws behind him to Raul. And he's like, what? Where did that come from? So he put it in his back pocket. So anyways, they're outside, out of the car, and they're actually jumping on the car. As they are inside, the group of boys jumping on the car, they're bouncing the car, and they get so terrified of like, oh my God, and they damaged actually a little bit the car. And then when they go outside, they attack these boys from Chilton, from another high school. They attack Raul, the defendant who now acquitted, and their friend who was sitting on the passenger side. They're attacking in two groups these two boys. They're on top of them, maybe 10, 15, 20 people of each group. And these teenagers filming that. So they come prepared. They are in for a fight. So they are fighting. These are football boys, and these are from other Chilton High School. Alcohol is involved, and they are on top, beating them, kicking them everywhere. 15, 20 people on top of him. And Raul, who is now acquitted, who committed the murder, which it was self-defense, and we'll get to that, is face down on the ground. Ground is wet, and no way he can't move. And on top of him are 15 to 20 boys. And they are punching, kicking. There's no way for him to get out. He cannot stand up, he cannot move, he cannot do nothing. Where is the knife? The knife is in his back pocket. Was he able to use the knife? No. He cannot even move to even get to that knife, to even do something about it. He couldn't even use it. So that's now in the toilets of the prosecution, saying this is a case that he actually murdered one of the boys of the Chilton. And that was not the case, because he later on testified, and I'm so happy that he did, because guess what? Long story short, that driver who gave the knife, throw at him the knife, and the other boy in the car, both got immunity. Get this, immunity from the DA's office. They got immunity. And you can tell in the trial, you can tell how they lied, especially that driver. And that driver wasn't doing anything. Imagine that. He throws a knife to somebody else, and in my mind, when I saw it, and when he testified, I could tell These people were somehow either jealous of him, maybe because of his good-looking girlfriend, cheerleader girlfriend, who I also didn't like whatsoever because she also testified against him. And she was also very cocky, and from all the testimony, that what I didn't understood, and nobody mentioned that, if she is your girlfriend, she was saying, and everybody was saying, she was pissed the entire time. Your boyfriend is being beaten up, almost died there, and you still are mad or pissed, as she calls it, not being able to get out of there and go home. And she, from all the testimony, doesn't even ask the boyfriend, Raul, how are you doing? Are you okay? What's going on? And I'm stunned that nobody even mentions that. That girlfriend, what type of girlfriend she is. Everyone was focusing on, oh, she was so pissed that she didn't get what she wanted. You can tell from her attitude that this girl is this, you know, I'm super pretty, I'm the cheerleader, and, you know, I get what I want. And she later attacks her own boyfriend and yells at him after all of this happens, right? Because later on, after he got beaten, then he just kind of swooped up and went out of that scenario, off the street, and then he turns around and sees that his friend, the one in the car, still got beaten up. And we will get to that, his testimony, and he goes back there and then tries to help, and then things get awry, and he swings his the knife that he has in his hand, and then he stabs 4 people, and one of them unfortunately died, and the other one were able to get hospital care, and then you know, from their legs and other wounds. And then when all of this happened, when they go back, she yells and text message him, bombard him with text message, and says, yeah, you screwed everything, you ruined everything, and what do they say to me, and whatever. And he just doesn't, and he still tries to calm her down, instead of saying, like, excuse me, I almost got killed here, was beaten by 15-20 boys, and you are pissed off because we don't go anywhere. It's just insane. Like, everyone is totally a mess. But then there's for whatever reason, the DA's office gives a very sweet immunity to the person, the driver, who actually owned the knife, gave it to him, that he didn't even know that this knife even existed. He was just literally, a knife was thrown into his lap. But then, very sweetly, both of them lied under oath. You can tell from the face, especially the owner of the knife. You can see it on his face. Please go and watch back his testimony and the other one. And not all of them. Watch all the boys' testimony. Their eyes, their body language, they are even like this, like they're inside of themselves. And the person who actually speaks the truth is, you know, face up, chin up, and shows and tells the truth. The people who lie, and they know that they're lying, and they know that's not what they're supposed to do, are sinking inside themselves and just look head down and look up and look at the sides and with side eyes. That's how you know. And with a stunned face, stone face, you know that they are lying. And also the story doesn't make any sense at all. They are claiming that this actually the person who owns the knife, who owns the and has the knife in the car, throws at him and says later under oath that because he got sweet immunity deal. They all got a sweet immunity deal, and the prosecution was beaten down on the Raul, that he somehow, and I will get to him how the personality of him is, and also his demeanor as well as his testimony. We'll get to that. But you can see and tell, because they have a sweet deal, they lied and said that he asked for the knife. Get that? He asked for a knife. This is straight up a goddamn lie. And it's not, you can, and his lawyer says, obviously, and we'll get to his lawyer, you cannot ask for something that you don't know. This doesn't even make any sense. So the lawyer, let's go to the lawyer. His lawyer and many people, I don't understand what problem they had with his lawyer. I think he did a great job. I think he did a very good job. If you followed him, if you listened to him, and especially his closing remarks, and again, I'm telling you, like I said, I literally said in the Karen Reed trial, the ending, the closing argument are so critical, and the DA's office, the special prosecution, the special prosecutor Brennan in the Karen Reed trial screwed that over so bad, because they, instead of being factual, they put emotion. He put emotion in it, which was the end of the story, because the facts didn't add up. The identical tactic, which is stupidly done by the prosecution, by the DA's office in this Raul Valle case, I was like, what am I seeing? Literally, the prosecutor giving the closing arguments, a man, he gives talks, and then at the end, he does this fake chuckling and crying in front of the jury. Like, what? I've never seen anything like this. I've never, ever seen a prosecutor giving such a fake closing argument. I just couldn't believe it. You can tell from the top to the bottom was corrupt like a maniac. This was a the corruption was screaming. And he was like chuckling and crying. I'm sorry. He literally said that like a theater. I swear. He said, I'm sorry. It's just that I have sons too. I'm a father. Like, what? And then so awesomely, his attorney said, yeah, what the prosecutor, and he was just so randomly talking about, he didn't even pay attention on this. He said, yeah, how the prosecutor, showed to you, I'm a father too. I have boys too. It was like, not a big deal. He wasn't even giving any zero attention to that. She's just like flow over that. And that was so important to show. He did a great job kind of showing, don't even pay attention to that. I am a father, I have boys too. So like, and he did it such a brilliantly that it just flew over. It wasn't giving any weight on it at all. But if you see his closing argument, he was like Alan Jackson a few times down, but a similar style. And that was effective. His speaking was so on point and so in a style, the way he, you know, was talking to the jury, the way he was explaining the situation, and the way he was also examining the witnesses and direct examining the witness. So it was really in a way that actually giving, like Alan Jackson does, the wording he's using, the punctuation, as if you're living in that moment, kind of saying, you know, he didn't go there with his knife in his hand and said, here, do you want some piece of it? You don't want a piece of this? Like, he was talking like that. He didn't say anything like that. He didn't say, here, do you want a piece of that? Here, come here, we'll give you a piece of this. He didn't say anything like that. And I was like, this was just so good. Really, I think he did a great job. And what I loved, how he direct examined Raul Valle as he testified, and I'm so happy that he did. We'll get to that. Because he was really, you almost thought, is he prosecutor? Like almost as if he cross-examined him, because he was giving the, like, asking him the questions, tough questions, as because he knew these questions everyone has in their mind. So he was kind of acting like a prosecutor asking, but why did you go back? Because that's the actually the key point for everyone, even on the comments, you know, just saying, but he's guilty, because why don't you just go away, right? You just straight go back in there. And his attorney, when he examined him, he said, in a direct examination, he's like, why didn't you leave? Why did you go back? And this was just so good, because that was exactly the questions that everyone had in their mind, and he knew exactly the jury would have that in their mind too. Now let's get to his testimony. Listen, this case, this trial was so unique in so many ways. The way everything went, the way I felt, the way, I mean, it was just the first time I've seen things like that. For example, as I just said, the prosecution, that kind of weird theatrical chuckling and crying, the fake cry during closing arguments was a joke. Was actually, I've never seen anything like this. It was the stupidest thing he could have done. And then in this testimony of Raul Valle, you could tell to your bones that he not only saying the truth, he is not, you can tell from his bones, from his raising, how he was raised, you can see it. You can see that he's not a person like that, because you can see it from his face, from his eyes, from his voice, versus the guy who lied under oath, got a super sweet deal from the prosecutor, who actually owned the knife, threw the knife at Raul, and then lied that under oath, saying that he requested the knife, which was ridiculous, because he didn't even know that a knife was even existing, other than that person who owned the knife. Nobody knew about the knife. So for the first time, Raul, as he was describing the scenario, he was not just describing it. He was reliving. You could tell there was zero fakeness. He was crying to his bones. He was crying so hard. And you could tell he was reliving the moment. And everyone missed this. But you could tell this boy was in and still is in such a trauma. He is still under that trauma, what he experienced then. You could tell from to your bones, you could see that he was still is under severe trauma because of that moment. He said that I thought I'm gonna die, and I believed it because it is, imagine, you have to watch it for the first, and he was crying his eyes out, and he could barely speak from all the crying because you could tell he was reliving the moment. Everyone talks about the trauma, and even the father of that boy, unfortunately, who was murdered, but not murdered, but he's acquitted for murdering, but who was killed. Everything was stupid at that day. And where are the parents? Apparently, nobody is around. No parents are around. Nobody mentions the parents. So the parent of the boy who died, and sadly died, from the other school, who came for the fight, okay? He was in the group of children who get there to fight for these Shelton boys. And he says in his press talk after the acquitting, after Raul found not guilty, he talks about he couldn't believe it, and he talks about the trauma and the mental health of all these boys. We have to do something about the mental health and the trauma. What about Raul's trauma? Nobody, I did not see one single person talking about this, his trauma. Nobody was able to see it. It was so obvious to your face if you pay attention. He was reliving, and you can tell he was seriously about to die. He was beaten up, being kicked on the ground, face down, by 15-20 boys, and he was not able to do anything. And that moment, he had his knife in his back pocket. He couldn't even reach it. And his own attorney asked, "Why did you get? Where's your knife?" He's like, "Where was the knife?" He's like, "In my back pocket." "Why did you use it?" He's like, "I couldn't. I couldn't even do anything. They were all on top of me, beating me everywhere." Back on his head, he has everywhere bruises and swelling. So I really hope that he can get over his trauma. So you could tell, and his testimony, that he was not only reliving the moment, he tells the truth. It's like as black and white. And the jury saw it through, and everyone who still, like the father says, I don't know if we were sitting in the same room, and I'm astonished by the results. Yeah, you are in the same room. You see the lies of these, all the boys, including that girlfriend who is just thinking only about herself. And you also see Raul, his self-defense, his testimony, how he almost died himself. And now they are still pressing on, nope, we have to charge him. But I'm so happy that he was found not guilty. Let me tell you this, again, the first time, many things was the first time in this case. When Raul gave his testimony, his testimony that he was literally experiencing, he was crying, he was almost like choking in his own cry as he was giving testimony. And for the first time, I've never done this. Yes, I get emotional, yeah, but I cried so hard. First time. I get, yes, empathetic, I get emotional, yeah, but never like this. I knew to my bones, to my core, from my body knew immediately. I cried my eyes out. I cried with him. I lived with him that moment. I knew 100% certainty he is telling the truth. Nothing but the truth. And then today, when the news came out that, actually yesterday, that they were kind of hanged on, deadlocked on the first charge, they couldn't proceed with the next charges. They came back. I was like, oh my God, that's still kind of like good news, but in which way, right? So then they were sent back, deliver again. Then they came back with a note saying that we want to hear Raul's testimony again. And that, my friend, was a great sign, meaning that testimony was so powerful that they wanted to see it again. What they did was they showed a piece of the testimony from the piece actually they wanted to hear, particularly, again, I'm telling you, the moment that he came back, why didn't you leave? Why did you come back? Right? That's when the stabbing happened. But in his testimony, he said, he's crying and said, my best friend, the boy who was in the car, not the knife owner, but the owner of the car, he was beaten up there, and I could not let him, that things that happened to me to happen to him. He could have died. He was crying. It was suffocating and choking from his own cry. He said, I could not let my best friend happen to him what happened to me. And he was in a much worse condition. They all unfortunately got a sweet deal. Not Raul, but these two other ones. In fact, he came back to save your ass. And you got a sweet deal, and you turned to the boy who tells that you are his best friend. Screw that. What's wrong with people, right? This is such an eye-opening and an important case on all levels. That's why I want to cover this, because if you haven't watched it, please watch it and see how people can be so selfish, so disgustingly, just, you can see how they are being raised. This boy, just because he did not want his best friend to experience or almost die from what he has experienced, he goes back and then they attack him again, and then the knifing things happen, and then he end up the stabbing thing like that, he throws around and hits people and someone dies. And so, but they turned around and backstabbed basically Raul. Unreal. Like the story of people, psychology and humanity is just unbelievable. And the parents, non-existing, how they raise children. Nobody can, there's no parents on the site anywhere. Nobody talks about the parents, but all the fault is Raul's. Everyone gets a sweet deal but Raul. And they still want to push him further, still want him to be accountable. For what? Everyone else, in fact, even, yes, unfortunately that boy died, but that boy's group actually are the people who started the fight, who went there for fight. And everyone was filming. Everyone was filming, but somehow the piece of footage where Raul was beaten up doesn't exist, or it was just not there. And you can see on the side, but not the full video, but only the Silva that his best friend was beaten up, that part is shown. Unbelievable. Where are these footages? Only selective footages are being shown, which was insane. And his attorney did a fantastic job identifying even the tiny hand who's belonging, and made the story out of even these bits and pieces of videos. Unbelievable. And he presented it in such a strong way that it was crystal clear who did what, when, how, where, and by whom. Unbelievable. And again, for the first time, I cried my eyes out with him as he was testifying. I knew to my bones that he was telling the truth. And oh, he was the only one telling the truth, by the way. And the jury saw through. And this, again, they requested after the deadlock, they went back to deliberation, and they said on the note, they said, we want to hear the piece where he explains why he went back to the fight, why he didn't just leave. See, that was everyone's question. Why didn't he just leave? And then the jury came back, and they listened to made the voice recordings of the hearing of the piece where Raul was testifying and his attorney was examining him, direct examination, and the exact moment of that piece where the state was doing the cross-examination. And that was still crystal clear. He said, I couldn't leave my best friend there. I couldn't allow things that happened to me to happen to my best friend. But the best friend got the deal and then totally lied on their oath. And the closing argument was so incredible, and I was shocked actually that was allowed by the judge, but it was allowed. And he said literally, and he went on and on. It was a great closing argument. It was step by step, building the story exactly like Ellen Jackson. It was so good. I encourage you to listen to the closing argument. He built it step by step the story, answered, like Ellen Jackson closing argument. Was that brilliant? I mean, it was very good. I have no idea why people had some problems with that person, or like, I can't believe this attorney. No, I knew he did a good job. I mean, I was incredible, and he got acquitted of murder for 4 counts. Like, it's incredible because that was that powerful. And he actually that's how, again, people judge people by their cover. And just because he has a long hair and he put it in a ponytail and had these large rings, whatever, he wasn't looking like a normal lawyer. He was an extraordinary lawyer. And that's, my friend, what we like, because he's and he does his good job. And that's what matters. This is insane how people can judge people like that so much. And at the end, when they listened to that, and they were saying they are deadlocked again, and I'm like, and when they wanted to listen these pieces, I started to do the 3-step method that I did. Actually, I did only the 1 core step of my justice course, right? My 3-step justice blueprint, which not only works for me, but I also saw now twice. It worked for Karen Reed trial. It worked now for him too. So you can apply this for other people as well. But it has to be, that core step must be there to work. And it worked. And I was walking outside, and I suddenly out of nowhere came up to my phone that he was found not guilty. And I watched it. I cried. I was like, I cried on the street, I swear, because I mean, he cried so much. I mean, you can tell that everyone, apparently, like John O'Keefe, people were just jealous, okay? You can tell it, that these boys were jealous of him. Maybe because he was a very well raised boy, good boy, emotionally, strong, and not selling out his friends, has this girlfriend, good, like the cheerleader girlfriend, good looking. I think the boys were just, especially that boy who has the knife, throw it at him and just hand it to him, literally throw at him. I think you can tell, is like so jealous of him. And that's the problem. That's exactly what I felt in the I kept talking about this in John O'Keefe trial, and I also talked about this. I was thinking of this in this trial too. You've got to understand who your friends are. You should not, and I keep talking about this on my channel, you should never, ever, ever surround yourself with wrong friends. If you feel there's something fishy going on, if you feel, you just sense it. That's why on my channel, on the Sundays, I train people to be emotionally strong, in their feeling, in their gut feeling strong, in their understanding around them and the surroundings and the world, what's going on, so that we can understand. And that's how we can trust our right gut feeling. We know this person is not good for us. We know these friends are not my friends, or not our friends, right? We know that they don't have good intentions, because it adds up. 1, 2, 3, 4. Because if you don't pay attention, then you really get screwed. Okay, that happened to me in the past a million times. Now I go like thousands and miles away, not figuratively but literally. Okay, so, and that's how you say staying and safe. And safety is the most important thing that we have to really consider. Safety first at all times. Nobody is worth than our own safety. Nobody. And that's the key message here. So the more we are hanging out with wrong friends or fake friends, or actually our frenemies, that's when everything happens. And guess what? He's still not off the hook, and there's still some stuff going on. And let's hope and pray that he will acquitted from all these other offenses, because he was acting on self-defense, and he is the only one telling the truth, nothing but the truth. So help him God. This is very, very important to understand. So finally, I would like to mention that these are the times. I knew it, that Karen Reed will be acquitted. I could feel it in my bones. For Raul, I could feel it to my bones, because on Monday I got my justice. Few days later, Raul got his justice, because this is the time when all the corruption comes out and people do not buy it anymore. I'm telling you, I'm talking about this for the last 2.5 years. This is the time. And watch all my videos from 2 years ago, from 2022. We the people, this is the time. No more corruption, because people will see through it, because it's the time of we the people. And that's why let's push together. Let's push that the people actually understand, see the clues, see what's going on, see through the lies, the cheats, and see through the corruption. And when I just said, I just realized I didn't finish my sentence there. When the judge, it wasn't even, I thought it wasn't allowed, but it was in fact allowed. So what the Raul's attorney did in the closing arguments, he actually said, oh, good. So they got the sweet deal, huh? From the DA's office. But what about Raul? Oh, it's so easy now. Put everything on him, because they got a sweet deal. Who got the knife? He got the knife, but he had a sweet deal. So he's off the hook. So now he testifies completely different. Do you want to trust him? Why would you trust him? He got a sweet deal. He can say whatever he wants. And that's what he did. Whoa, I couldn't believe it that he went on and on and on, emphasizing that they got a sweet deal, but my client didn't. And everybody's now on my client. And this was just so powerful. He emphasized this over and over and over again in one section of his testimony, and nobody objected and was allowed to talk like this. I never heard anything like this before, but this was again on variety of levels first in so many things. So I encourage you to go back, and you don't have to watch the whole thing. Just watch his testimony was so powerful, and that's enough. Watch his testimony, watch the closing arguments, and that's all you know, and you can see through everything. And this is so important that we understand as a society what to look for, the clues. And obviously at one point, if anyone would go to the jury duty, then this is critical to understand the clues, who's lying, who's not lying, what to look for, and what is the corruption, see through the corruption. And the people don't buy it anymore. They see the corruption, see through the corruption, because it is we the people. Even I won against the corruption. Thank you so much for being here. Justice for all. Stay in integrity. Stay true to yourself. Be you. Let's move forward with honesty, truth, and integrity. Take care.